knows a lot about the science stuff. Professor Dave explains.
We just covered phylum Hemichordata, so let's move on to Echinodermata. The echinoderms, along with the hemichordates, make up the clade Ambulacraria. All members of this clade share a three-part coelom and similar larval forms. The name of the phylum Echinodermata comes from the Greek echinos, meaning hedgehog, and derma, meaning skin, though they are more commonly called the spiny skin animals, or simply the echinoderms. They are found in all oceans around the world and at all depths, from shallow intertidal regions and tide pools to the abyssal regions of the deep sea. Though they are locally abundant in some areas, they are often found dispersed throughout the ecosystem, with the exception of the abyssal zone and biotic desert of the deep sea, where they are some of the most abundant animals, like the deep sea crinoids and sea pigs, where they fill a range of ecological niches, from deposit feeders like the sea cucumbers, to filter feeders like the sea lilies, to scavengers like the feather stars, to active predators like many starfish. Though many are slow-moving, a great number of echinoderms are predatory, and some, like the sunflower sea stars, which can grow to a size of more than a meter and have 16 to 24 limbs, are top predators that feed on other echinoderms and slow-moving or sessile mollusks. Many species are considered to be keystone species, meaning they have a disproportionately large impact on their respective marine communities. In order to examine these organisms, let's go over their general and unique characteristics, external characteristics, development, regeneration, ecology, and finally, classification. The echinoderms are triploblastic, entirely marine, primarily dioecious deuterostomes with an extensive coelom, no brain, and no excretory system. All species are free-living or commensal, meaning none are parasitic, though many other animals parasitize or otherwise live on or in the bodies of many echinoderms. As adults, most are unsegmented with pentaradial symmetry, though their larvae are bilaterally symmetrical, and their common ancestor was also bilaterally symmetrical. As such, the echinoderms go through a series of developmental stages that vary by class. In addition, echinoderms are capable of autonomy and regeneration of lost parts. The 5 unique echinoderm characteristics that separate them from all other animals are as follows. First, an endoskeleton of large plates or small scattered ossicles. Second, a water vascular system that is comprised of a network of fluid-filled channels and extends into the tube feed. Third, pedicellariae, which are unique wrench or claw-shaped appendages with movable jaws called valves, found only in some echinoderms. Fourth, papillae, also known as dermal branchii or skin gills, which can be extended or withdrawn. And fifth, internal pentaradial or 5-pointed symmetry in adults. External pentaradial symmetry is evident in some adults, like the sea stars, but even the echinoderms which have become secondarily bilateral are pentaradial at some point in their lives. It's important to note that even in species with more than 5 limbs, like the Antarctic sun starfish with 50 arms, or the variable bushy feather star with over 100 arms, they are still symmetrical in multiples of 5. Echinoderm external features vary widely by class. For example, the sea stars, brittle stars, and sea urchins all have a mouth on their ventral end and an anus on their dorsal end. Meanwhile, the crinoids have both their mouth and their anus on the dorsal sides, while the sea cucumbers have mouths on their anterior end and anus on their posterior. In order to generalize a bit, we will examine members of Asteroidea for external and internal features. Many echinoderms have an aboral surface, meaning the side opposite the mouth, that is rough and spiny, though in some species these spines are flattened so that the surface appears smooth. Around the bases of the spine are the minute pincer-like pedicellariae, which are manipulated by muscles and function in keeping the surface clean, aid in food capture like in the Velcro stars, and in some species protect papillae against predators, like in many urchins, such as the venomous flower sea urchin, and the collector urchin, which can actually eject its pedicellariae. Among the spines, pedicellariae, and generally rough skin, there are numerous extensions of the coelomic cavity that extend through spaces between the skeletal ossicles and aid in respiration and waste removal. These are known as papillae, or skin gills. Another extension to the surrounding environment is the circular madreporite, which is located aborally in the sea stars and orally in the brittle stars. It is a calcareous sieve plate that leads to the echinoderm water vascular system, which extends into the tube feet, or podia, that are often protected by movable spines. These tube feet regularly function in locomotion, and many have sensory structures that aid in chemoreception, pressure reception, and photoreception. Many species of urchins have light-sensitive cells in their tube feet all over their bodies, essentially acting as one giant eye. Meanwhile, many sea stars have light-sensitive sensory tentacles on the tips of their tube feet that also act as eyes. Between the tube feet, there is an ambulacrum or ambulacral area, sometimes called a food groove, that runs from the mouth on the oral side to the tips of each arm. This is essentially a pathway to carry food into the mouth, and it is extremely pronounced in the crinoids. Echinoderm development is unique in that although adult echinoderms possess pentaradial symmetry, their larvae are ciliated, free-swimming organisms with bilateral symmetry. Echinoderm larvae vary widely within echinoderm classes, and even orders within the same class. In addition, the process of metamorphosis is often quite complex and involves numerous larval stages before the echinoderm settles to the ocean floor as a sexually immature juvenile. The larvae of some species are plankton feeders, while many others are initially yolk feeders that may or may not pass through a plankton feeding stage before becoming juveniles. Metamorphosis involves a dramatic reorganization of the bilateral larvae into radial juveniles, which may involve the complete loss of the original mouth and anus, and the growth of an entirely new mouth and anus, like in the starfish. Echinoderms are notable for their ability of regeneration, in that they can survive and regenerate even if up to 3/4 of their bodies are removed. Many species of echinoderms are not only capable of regenerating lost limbs, but sometimes lost limbs are capable of regenerating whole bodies, as long as part of the central disc is present. However, most lost limbs die and do not regenerate. In addition, echinoderms that are in danger or diseased can discharge parts of their bodies and internal organs and then regenerate those limbs and organs over a period of several months. For example, many starfish will remove limbs that have become infected, and many sea cucumbers can expel their digestive and respiratory organs through the process of evisceration if they sense they are in danger. Ecologically, echinoderms are numerous invertebrates whose adults play an important role in benthic ecosystems, while the larvae are a major component of the planktonic invertebrates. Many sea urchins are grazers that keep down algae populations. Others, like the heart urchins, process sediment. And still others, like the sea cucumbers and sea pigs, are deposit feeders, while crinoids are suspension feeders. Some sea urchins can bore into solid rock, destabilizing rock faces and releasing nutrients into the ocean. Others, like many starfish, are top predators that keep populations of prey species in check, while still others, like the purple urchins, can explode in population and cause overgrazing of kelp forests, resulting in an alga-denuded urchin barren. In addition, since they have a calcium-rich endoskeleton, the echinoderms collectively sequester over 0.1 gigatons of carbon dioxide per year as calcium carbonate. Unfortunately, many species of echinoderms are in decline globally. Some species of sea urchins and sea cucumbers are also harvested for food, which has led to further population declines. In terms of classification, there are 5 extant classes of echinoderms. Those are Crinoidea, which includes the feather stars and sea lilies, Asteroidea, commonly known as sea stars or starfish, Ophiuroidea, commonly known as the brittle stars or serpent stars, Echinoidea, which includes the sea urchins, and Holothuroidea, which includes the sea cucumbers. In addition, there are a great deal of extinct echinoderms, like all members of Blastoidea and many crinoids. We will return to examine this diversity in more detail a bit later. First, let's continue by looking at echinoderm body systems. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more tutorials. Support me on Patreon so I can keep making content. And as always, feel free to email me, ProfessorDaveExplains@gmail.com.